Alright, hello again everyone, and welcome to another video of mine. So now, this is just going to be what the first video, what you thought was going to be about. We're just going to talk about crafting and some of the histories that people have of doing ornaments, okay? So what I have found is that when you come in and you make an ornament, it's like, it can be a picture. It can be a history into your past, into your family, into the things that are going on at that time. So you can take like pictures and stuff, right? So if you look at some pictures of some ornaments that people have done, and some people have done ornaments of family members. Now, sometimes these ornaments, nowadays, these ornaments are of people that are alive, they're living their best life, their kids, their family, stuff like that, right? People alive, living their best life, right? Now, there are also, if you look at some of the older ornaments, okay? And you'll find like, the old grannies, and stuff, or at least maybe they used to, is they would have these very old ornaments. They might have old pictures in there. They might have some lace on them. They might have doilies with pictures in there. Just different kinds of things, right? Or just some really unique ornaments that were made, okay? And so what happens is these ornaments turn into a history, all right? Like take, for example, this right here. This is a cardstock that's for scrapbooking. Now, I like the flowers on here. I like the blues on here. They're very pretty and they're very lovely. And I thought this would be a really nice ornament because back in the day, sometimes you wanted a reminder. You might want a reminder that, hey, winter isn't going to last forever, right? It will end and then we'll be able to have springtime again. But sometimes those winters could seem really, really long. Like, oh my God, I don't think this is going to ever last or ever end. Because there might be an early winter or an early snowfall. There might be a late springtime, stuff like that. And back in those days, you didn't have snowplows coming in and bailing you out. So you would literally be snowed in. Like there wouldn't be school during the wintertime. There's no school, not in the country. If you're in the country, you came in and you survived. That's what you did. You just survived. And so if you were lucky enough to have gotten your hands on some paper or some parchment or anything like that, or maybe there's some wrapping paper, and you can make an ornament for that Christmas, right? And this is just now coming to me, so I don't know if it's true or not, but you can make an ornament for that winter that you survived. I survived another winter, so you'd have something that would remind you of that. I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds good, right? It sounds real good. Another thing is that during the winter, people didn't really have that hope that you do during the springtime. Because during the springtime, you can go hunting, you can travel, you can go visit neighbors, you can rely on other people, things like that. When the winter times came and you were snowed in, then you had nowhere to go. You had to rely on the livestock that you had to see you through the winter. You had to rely on the canning that you did. You had to rely on each other. And if you had a big family, let me tell you, everyone had to eat less. Sometimes you might go a day without eating. If you're lucky, you got to drink water. You'd have to go get it. If you didn't live close to a stream or have a well, then you'd have to go get it. You'd have to boil it so that you wouldn't get dysentery or parasites and things like that would make you sick. And then, of course, you get sick, You get pneumonia, because back in the day, pneumonia was a huge one. Because if you got the flu and you couldn't get nourishment to help your body take care of itself, pneumonia was a big killer right there. There's no common cold that, that didn't kill you. If you got sick, you were sick. There were no small sicknesses. There weren't any allergies, so to speak. You went out, you did your job, you did all the things. Nowadays, everyone's allergic to everything. Everyone's allergic to everything. Everyone's getting sick over everything. Everyone needs medicine over things. I know, I said this was going to be a lighthearted video. And I'm going into life right now. I got a lot of thoughts. So anyway, Christmas ornaments. So Christmas ornaments for, let's say, I believe it was the Swedish, I want to say. I might be wrong, but it was Swedish. Is they had been told that they could no longer have the Swedish flag, which was the blue and white, the blue flag with a white, cross in it, right? And so they were told they couldn't fly the flag anymore. Their flag was different. They were no longer into that flag. And so what they did is they made flag Christmas tree ornaments. And then with these Christmas tree ornaments, they would hang them on the tree. And that way they were still representing their country. They were still representing where they came from. And no one could say anything because it's not a flag. It's an ornament, And so they were okay with that. So they got away with that by doing that. I actually found that one is actually true. I went to, what was it? The Dutch. That's what it was. It was the Dutch. Dutch are all over the place. But it was the Dutch that had done that. They had been taken over by someone else or some kind of parliament or whatever, and they were told they couldn't have that anymore. And so also with that, ornaments have a way of telling a story about a family. You can have something that reminds you of surviving. You can also have births. You can have deaths and remembering people, like a memory tree. Like every year, that you're going to see your family members on that tree and you're going to put them up and you're going to have a moment of silence. You're going to have a moment of joy. You're going to come in and you're going to say, hey, things are hard, but you know what? It's okay. Our ancestors went through this and they got through it, and we're going to go through this and we're going to get through it. And all these ornaments were handmade. They weren't made by a factory. They weren't made by people in a factory. They were made by people. Families, they would come in, and they might add 1 or 2 ornaments. And I know kids at school, stuff, when we started doing ornaments when I was in school, we would have a picture, and our teachers would have a thing, or we would color a page, and so that would add to your ornaments and things like that. That added to the history. So as I'm sitting here doing a Mod Podge for this, I'm going to tell you some interesting facts that I found out when I was doing the research for these. Now, don't ask me where the idea came from. It just popped into my head. Now, am I the only person to take wrapping paper or scrapbook paper and make an ornament? I'm not. Okay? As a matter of fact, I found at least 4 videos. There are 3 that I recall. There's at least 3 to 4 videos out there that I found that had people making these ornaments. There's this one lady, she made, I think it was 11, she posted a video 11 months ago, so it's very recent. Or maybe it was for last Christmas. That's what it was, for last Christmas. And so in her family, they had a family member that had worked for this store, and for a store. I don't remember what it was. Doesn't matter. And that family member had brought in a huge roll of wrapping paper. Now, it was only probably the size of this mat, maybe a little bit bigger, but it was really thick, okay? Really thick with wrapping paper. And so everyone would come in every year and they would use that wrapping paper. They never had to buy wrapping paper because they already had wrapping paper for Christmas. It was very pretty wrapping paper, it started to yellow and things like that. And so the wrapping paper was starting to get significantly smaller. Still plenty in there. Still plenty in there. He probably has years left to go for wrapping gifts and things like that if you're fairly frugal with it, and stuff. So what she did was she said, you know what? There's a history of this because wrapping paper at that time was 50 years old. Now it's 51 years. But it's 50 years old, and so she said, I want this to be remembered even after we're gone. So she took the immediate family members and she made a Christmas ornament out of this wrapping paper. And I believe she had a wooden one like this, except it had the little loop on it or whatever, the little stem, to look like an actual Christmas ornament. And she put a bow on it, and she used Mod Podge. She Mod Podged it on there, and then with one Mod Podge, and she had a satin finish for the top, so that it fingerprints on stuff wouldn't be apparent. Because if you have that matte look, then that'll keep the fingerprints off of it and stuff. Plus, it'll help it. This will just help it last longer. This is still going into a matte finish, but it's a hard coat because I want to really last. I want to have some quality in here. So anyway, so she took her wrapping paper and she had one image on one side and she had another image on the other side, and she made a little tag and she made a little ribbon, and wrapped it up and stuff. I thought that was really cool, Now, before I saw that, I had not seen any other videos on doing wrapping paper ornaments, right? I didn't see any of this stuff. And people do DIYs for ornaments all the time. You see all kinds of stuff. I think last year or the year before, when I worked at Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, the last Christmas that I was really participating in decorating, I was like, I started watching all these decoration videos because we were coming out of that whole pandemic in 2021. And then I left, but I made all these decorations and stuff. No, it was 2020. That's what it was. 2020 is where I made all the decorations. Because at that time I lived at a different place and I was only paying $825 a month for rent. So I get a disability check because I was in the military, connected service and all that. And so I was getting enough money to pay for all my bills. So my rent was paid for, my electricity was paid for, my phone bill was paid for, I have a storage in Texas, that was paid for. Like all my reoccurring bills were paid for. I think I had like Netflix and Hulu, which I heard there are only a few shows I watch on them, but I keep up the subscription so that I can watch those again. So anyway, I had started watching all these DIY videos when I wasn't at work. And so I was like, oh my God. So I started taking my paycheck and I started just buying all these things. I would go to the craft stores. I would go to Amazon, Dollar Tree. There's so many videos on Dollar Tree about how to make all these crafting things. And I was really into the wreaths. Huge into the wreaths. And then using moss, just different things. And so at the time I was getting these crafty things, all that stuff had been picked over for the most part. I was like, oh wow. I was lucky to get what I got, right? I'm going to all these 99-cent stores and all that stuff. And so I really got into making all of these decorations and then finding purpose for them. Like I could do fall, add a couple of things for Halloween, jack-o'-lanterns or whatever for Halloween, take those off, and we're back into add a couple of turkeys or whatever and stuff, or some fall animals. And guess what? You've got, um, you have October and November covered. December, you could even still keep up the same thing, just add a tree and, get some greenery stuff with some ornaments, change out, if you didn't hot glue any stuff in there, you could change out a few things, put some hollies in there or whatever, and just kind of repurpose everything and now transition into Christmas, or for the winter. I was really into making things that weren't really religious themed, right? Everyone has their religion, everyone has their traditions in that respect. And everyone's always like, oh, I don't want to offend, so we're not going to do anything. I said, no, no, no. How about we just decorate for the seasons, right? If we decorate for fall, that cannot offend anyone because it's a fall. We have the changing of the leaves. We have, the animals. We got different things, right? We come in for winter. Same thing. You don't have to put, you could put a snowman in there because that's not religious. That's a snowman. You could have snowflakes. You could have angels. And angels are in almost every single religion out there. There are different kinds of angels, but as long as you have some nondescript angel, or whatever, that's fine. It's not religious. It's across the board. So you can have the seasons and things like that, like April, right? Or whatever, April and May. So when you come into the springtime, you don't have to have eggs and an Easter bunny, right? You don't have to have any of that stuff. You can have flowers. You can have, you can still have animals and stuff out there, but it's more of a springtime theme to say, hey, let's welcome in the next season. Summertime, same thing. You have your summertime stuff going on and themes, and you're welcoming in the summertime, right? You have a seasonal thing. And so that's what I did. I was doing seasonals. And I found that during that time that a lot of people were depressed about a lot of things. A lot of people were going homeless. A lot of people went without food, or they were on food stamps, or, and stuff like that. They had to have, at that time, if they were impacted by the pandemic, they could still get that money from that. I think it was like, what, 500 a week or something. If your pay was reduced because of the pandemic, so you could still be working, but as long as you were impacted, you could go in and collect that. I never did, because I knew that I didn't need that money. I had my paycheck, I had my VA, and I was okay with that. I was like, you know what? I got this. I can survive on this. That money is for people who absolutely need it. I'm not about wasting things. So I went out and I did all these things. And one of the things I found is that as I'm crafting all these different stuff, is that I'm learning new skill sets. I'm helping my mental health, my emotions. People would say, oh, those are so pretty, or whatever. I had some people that wanted to buy the decorations. I was like, you could just go to the 99-cent store right down the road. You get it from there. Yeah, but I want this one. I said, well, you need to go buy your own, because I'm not going to sell this to you. All right. You need to go get your own. And so some people got a little upset about it. I'm like, if you want me to make it for you, that's cool. Go get me the stuff and I'll make it for you. It's not a big deal. But, so that was with wreaths and stuff like that, and little doohickey dudes. Little villages. I had gnomes. Oh my gosh. I had gnomes everywhere, from the ones from the Dollar Tree. And I would get those and I put them all over where I worked at, because I was like, this is so cute. And then I found out about the purpose of the gnomes, or the Nisi. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I kind of learned something new, and I like that, right? I was like, well, how about I just have my own little reminders that there are guardians out there watching over me. Again, I'm not religious. So anyway, so there was that. I made gnomes. I had decided that, and again, I wanted a video. I think I made a video on this too. I wanted a video on my idea, and no one had my idea, so I made a video on my idea. There were people who had different ideas on these gnomes, Some, did stuffing with different things. And I was like, oh, well, I'll just do rice. Just go to the Dollar Tree, and get some rice, because I was making, I made eye pillows. And anyway, I got videos on that too when I was making massage holsters. I could have done a lot more with that. But I didn't, because I didn't want to spend the time on it. I didn't want the responsibility of having to pay for bills with that kind of money. So I didn't pursue it. I could. I still got all the stuff. Most of it anyway, but maybe one day. So anyway, I made stuffed gnomes. And I sold them for $10 each. And I sold a fair amount. I gave away way more than what I sold, because I had made so many. Oh my gosh. I've got the beards and noses and the socks for them. I can make some now. I even still have the rice for it too. But I just don't want to do that right now. Right now, I'm into making ornaments. It's always something different with me. It's never the same. Never the same. Things build on each other. But this year, I got rid of a bunch of wood discs too. I had bought them when I moved. People didn't want to move all my stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to move in my apartment, because it's turned into a storage bin, a crafty storage place. That's all it was. I lived in a crafty storage place. I mean, everything was organized. Everything was in its place. That's stuff like that. Had I think 5 mini startup businesses. Okay. 5, I had supplies for mini businesses. Oh my God. Dude, let me tell you. But anyway, so I gave all that to Goodwill. I was like, you know what? Someone's going to use that. They're going to craft with it. They're going to start a business, and it's going to go on, and it'll be amazing. One day I'm going to see it out there. So this year, I came up with this idea of making ornaments. I could not tell. It wasn't a video that I saw that I had the idea from. There wasn't anything. It just popped into my head. Sometimes I just have these random thoughts, And this random thought was, hey, oh, I know what it was. It wasn't absolutely a random thought. My sister, I love my sister very much. And she has a life, She has a life. And I had sent her some stuff for the fall, because she wasn't feeling her best, She wasn't very inspired or very positive, And I was like, you know what? I'll send her a few things, and she can make her own she can decorate her house and have a few things, nothing big. And then I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'll get her a few things for Christmas, and stuff like that, to kind of help out with the Christmas stuff. So I sent her a few things there. And then I was like, I could just make some ornaments and send them to her. And I was like, well, how am I going to make the ornaments? What am I going to do? Different things like that. And so that's how my random idea came to making ornaments for my sister. And there's where I used to work at, they have a gifts and graces for vendors. I'm going to take some of these. Who am I kidding? I'm going to take all of these. I'll pack all of these up that I get finished, and I'm going to sell whatever I can sell. Whatever I don't sell, I'll send out to my sister. So I'm going to do. I might even go to some of the other Walgreens I used to work at and see if I can put a little decoration out there, just a little bit. Because every place I go to, I want to decorate, Excuse me. Ew, gross. Because when you decorate, it livens up the mood. It really has it so that people feel so much better. They're having a dark day, it's just not going the way they want it to. And they are one moment from a meltdown. Okay? They're just one moment from a meltdown. We don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I work in a place where, we're dealing with drugs. All right? Call them prescriptions all you want to, but a drug is a drug is a drug. Right? So Anyway, so I got to come in, and I'm like, you know what? I need to have a more positive environment for the people that work here and for the customers or patients that come in seeking, to get the things that they need. Now, not everyone has been very forthcoming they haven't been very welcoming or very accepting of these things. They're like, this is children's stuff. This is a professional place. We don't need to have children's things here, We need to treat this like an adult place. Okay. And they wonder why the people that come in there are so damn depressed. I'm like, well, maybe if you had a little uplifting, you wouldn't be so depressed when you came to work. You might enjoy coming to work. And, maybe the people who come in here might enjoy it too. Because having things being aesthetically pleasing is always a positive. That's never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to have something aesthetically pleasing or something that looks nice. Like, hey, I like being in this place. It feels good. It looks good, And it doesn't have to have modern stuff. It doesn't have to be, whatever. You can have a few things. It doesn't have to be a lot. I went overboard. Girls, I was decorating everything. I was like, give me that plexiglass. I got all kinds of stuff over here. We're going to do the plexiglass for the center partitions, all that stuff. So I did go overboard a little bit. But, that's all right. It'll be okay. But anyway. So, yeah. The first Walgreens I went to, girls, I went hog wild on that. I decorated all the stations. I came in, I decorated, the huge photo center area. I did all kinds of stuff. And then I left it there. It's like, yeah, you can have it. The pharmacy, they had a centerpiece there. And girls, let me tell you, I had a huge wreath that was in there that I had made. And the pharmacist, she really liked the wreath. I said, well, that's yours. You can have that. So when that goes down, you can keep it. But they also had people at that time. Pandemic was starting to, people were starting to take down their partitions, and stuff like that. And I said, well, take a partition down, there's a good chance. That's why people are jumping over and into the pharmacy and just grabbing medications, just grabbing whatever's there. So I said, hey, don't take your partition down. All right, leave these up. And when I said, me putting this on here lets them know that there's something there. There's a barrier. When people see that there is a physical barrier, all right, they are less likely to do things that they're not supposed to be doing. If they can't just jump in and jump out. If they have a barrier, it doesn't mean the barrier can't be broken down. It's not hard, but it takes time. And you have a chance of getting hurt or delaying and getting caught. And people are like, oh, it's just the crackheads. I'm like, no, it ain't the crackheads. It's the people who have enough sense to not steal. They're calculating things and then stealing. They're going in and they're scoping out stuff. They got people coming in to come buy the stuff that they just stole. So anyway, so the point of this story is this. Is that had they had decorations, then people would not have come in to steal their stuff. That's the point of this story. But people, people liked the decorations, They were very, very open to it, very positive to it. And I was like, hey, let's keep doing this. And then there's those few that are like, they're shitheads. I'm like, all right, well, you be you, boo, and I'm gonna be me. So I'll wear a bunch of pins on my lanyard. What else we got here? No, I have a lot to do. Let me tell you. There is a lot. And this is only the prepping part, There's putting wreaths on here or ribbons. Or if I decide to put a trim on it, there's putting trim. Now, when I do the hot glue for the trim, girls, That's going to be a day. That's not just an evening thing. That is a long haul for me. I don't do just a little bit at a time, you know? If I'm going to do just a little bit, that means that I'm doing reconnaissance work and I'm testing out what the final product is going to be. That's what I'm doing. So that's when I do a little bit. Other than that, I'm in, what did my friend Matt say? He said I'm in assembly line mode. And that's exactly what it is. If I'm doing something, I'll do one part and I'll do a bunch of it. And then I'll do another part and I'll do a bunch of it. Like for these guys here, I came in, traced everything, and cut it out. So I cut all the pieces last night. And then this morning, I came in and I did the first Mod Podge of putting the pieces on the wood discs. And now, after all that's dry and stuff, and so now I'm Mod Podging the front of it, the top of it, and the sides, so that I can go to the next phase. I haven't gotten to the next phase. I've experimented with a few of them, and you've seen some of those, like this guy here. That's a good one. Put a little white chalk on it, and there you go, boom. And that was just a green background. And I glued that on, did a Mod Podge, didn't glue it, did a Mod Podge on it, and there you go. It's pretty cool. So, you know, stuff like that. I'll do little things, see what I want to do. Like this guy here, I'm going to find something else to go back of it. Probably gnome, or maybe a little hot chocolate. Let's see, what is this guy here? Got like a little pumpkin spice thing. Might do something like that. And do that and call it a day, or put some greenery around it. Who knows? Who knows what I'm going to do? We don't know. I don't know. I have ideas of what I'm going to do. Those, I don't, if I'm going to, when I put the greenery around, I will need to hot glue those, because they won't just stay on. I have to have like a thick thing, hot glue. But anyway, I'm almost done with the stacks. I'm almost done doing my second phase of the third phase, I guess is what this is. First phase was cutting everything out. Second phase is getting the prints onto the discs. And then the third phase would be, this is the third phase, which is sealing the top of the prints. I'll get the sides too, because I'm gonna do that. So anyway, back to the videos. So there's another video that I saw. And this one did cardstock. I was like, oh wow, I can do cardstock. I think that's how I got the idea of cardstock. Or maybe, I don't know.